Howdy, howdy, fellow movie watchers, and welcome back for another edition of the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast, brought to you by PTE Creative. As always, we're your hosts, Evan and Dylan Davies. Today on the show, we're coming out of our huge and also successful for us, so we appreciate it, greatest movie action scene tournament, which I think a favorite won that pretty well. But we did have a dark horse come through all the way to the final, so one that we just undervalued. So in that spirit, today we are going to be stack ranking all 68 of our entries by what we think is actually the best scene. Now, we're not going to go over every single one, but I've kind of grouped them together. Dylan's going to be reacting to that. On top of that, we got a little bit of movie news out of the James Bond franchise and the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the Avengers Doomsday cast being released. This is clearly not the only cast that's going to be in it. It's probably half of it. And we are going to take from one of our favorite podcasts, the Big Picture podcast over at The Ringer, and we are going to be doing a movie studio draft, which is going to be a heck of a lot of fun. Dylan, you want to start with the stack rankings?
Yeah, how are we going to do this? Are we going from the bottom up, or?
Well, let's go from the bottom up. So Dylan's going to kind of be reacting as I give my stack rankings, because there's no point in us both going whatever. If there's a huge discrepancy, we'll do it. But this was made because, as anybody who watches the podcast and has been with us for the past month of the tournament knows, outside of the 4 number 1 seeds and the 8 bottom play-in seeds, no movie was seeded. We randomly seeded it, because otherwise you're kind of predetermining half the tournament immediately, and you're saying, exactly, well, I think this is good, so I want it to get less challenges and all this kind of stuff. So outside of those 12 seeds, we didn't map anything. So there's some stuff that lost first round or even second round.
I was going to say, there was quite a few that lost first round that are actually pretty heavy hitters.
So we'll start here at the bottom. I have the bottom 4 is my tier list. The bottom tier is called Happy to Be There, which was Batman vs. Superman, Hero, Police Story, and The Bourne Ultimatum. To me, those were the 4 that I felt were the weakest.
I'd agree, yeah.
And they should be happy they were in the tournament in general. Batman v Superman, I thought a little bit of, but I keep calling back to your biggest flaw about that, which is the joke at the end kind of just takes the piss out of the moment. After you've just seen Batman just kick the shit out of everybody, and you're like, that's the Dark Knight. Yeah.
I would take exception with Police Story a little bit. I would personally put it a little bit higher, only because I like how bonkers it is.
Yes, you liked the bonkers nature of it, where I was very much... I felt like I was watching AEW's Bad Wrestling, and I couldn't do it. But we'll go to the next one, and this one I'm calling really good entries to root for, because you want them in the tournament because there's something there that's good, but you can't necessarily say they're going to make a run here. And I'd have Die Hard's Roof Jump, Ben-Hur's Chariot Chase, The Lion King Stampede, and John Wick Chapter 4's Sacré-Cœur stairwell fight. Those all have something to them that make them special and unique, and they were the ones that if they were going to those are the ones if we had to pick, just made 64, no playing games, those are the 4 I think we would probably chosen.
That's fair.
Next one, I only have 3 in this one. Sizzle and no steak. Like Ponderosa style steak. That's sort of a Ponderosa steakhouse.
Sure.
To our harkening back to our youth, because God, did our father love a buffet because it was cheap and everyone could be happy. So I have the Sizzle no steak Ponderosa style. Avatar. I don't think highly of that scene from Avatar, that final fight with Jake and Neytiri versus Quaritch. Aliens, the Ripley and Alien Queen fight is iconic, and it's very cool, and I'm not taking away from it, but in comparison to some other stuff here, you're just like, okay, it's a clunky big fight between a robot and an alien. And then I also put the Revenant there. I think the bear it's very cool, and it brings out some fear and some anger, but it's just so shaky camish that someone could interpret that as, oh, it would be just like being disoriented, like being attacked by a bear. But part of it is, does that feeling get ingratiated to the audience for me or not? And I don't. For me, that didn't come through as much as I think they intended. So that's why I have the sizzle, no steak.
I would have thrown probably a couple more in there, particularly some of the oneers. But
yeah, you hate a lot of the oneers because they've. Just
I would have definitely thrown Kingsman in there. That's the one that stands out to me as one
I
like
have
that.
Kingsman much higher, but I just like that.
Oh,
shot
really?
A lot
Okay.
More.
I would have thrown that in there, and probably. I was gonna say Atomic Blonde, but I actually take that back. That actually has a lot more redeeming qualities, I think.
Yeah. So I went to Fatal Flaws, and there's only 3 in this one as well. Final Destination 2's opener.
Huge disagree here.
Predator and Collateral. So the Final Destination 2 one I think is hilarious. I don't think it's supposed to be hilarious. And
it's awesome.
And halfway through it becomes, to me, it jumps the shark. It's just too much. I think it's perfect about halfway through, and you're just like, this is fun. And then it's just fucking stupid. You're just like, how many things can explode? How many things can just go through fire? So that was that. Fatal flaw for Predator is the audio and the laugh at the end. I think is just takes a lot of the piss out of that moment.
That's fair. That's a big critique, yeah.
And the thing for Collateral is Collateral has this. I don't think there's a crescendo in that Collateral fight. It just kind of happens, and there's nothing to really put a bow on it. It doesn't have this real satisfying end or this thing where you're like,
yeah,
whoa. And I think Heat also suffers from that a little bit as well.
That whole movie is not really an action movie anyways.
Yes.
Much more of a just tense thriller, so that's fair.
Next one I had was Good at Something. The Raid 2 kitchen fight, Old Boys corridor fight, Heat's bank robbery, Mission Impossible's vault heist, and I put King Kong in here as well for the TRX trio versus King Kong. The reason I would say that is all of them are really good at one thing that make them unique, that make them special, but there's something missing to take it over the top to make that thing great. They're those late first round draft picks in the NFL draft that they're really good at one thing. And unless they are capitalized on perfectly, they're always going to be those guys that kind of just travel from team to team because they're talented and they're worthwhile, but they're not the creme de la creme guys that can capitalize on that one thing really well. That's how I view those.
This is where I would have put John Wick 3.
Okay.
Because by that point, you've seen it all in that franchise.
Sure.
Like, they're not changing that much, really, in style. So
fair enough. I have it in the next category up, so there's not a huge bunch of discrepancy.
Yeah.
Super fun category is the one that's, I think, the biggest. Yeah, it covers 10 movies. Well, there's another 10 category movie for me. 10 movie category. There we go. Those are the words I want. I have, and it's just super fun, Curse of the Black Pearls, Jack Sparrow chase, The Matrix, Neo versus Agent Smith. I don't know why I have King Kong down twice, because King Kong's in this one, so I clearly missed an entry, but it clearly can't matter that much, because I know I got the heavy hitters up top. Bullets car chase, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Wayman's fight, John Wick 3, the Casablanca escape with the dogs, Baby Driver's opening sequence, Incredibles, Dash, and Violet versus the Gliders, Speed, trying to disarm the bomb underneath with the auto mechanics trolley, and Avengers Endgame's Big 3 versus Thanos, which really is about Cap versus Thanos.
Yeah.
So I think all those are really super fun. Nothing to me stands out so much about them that they have to go higher. Again, I think they all have a flaw in what makes them really great, but it also makes them really great. So I can't sit here and say they're bad or anything.
I think you haven't mentioned Phantom Menace yet, right?
Yeah, it's in my next category up.
Okay, because that's where I would put that at the bottom part of that category.
Okay.
where I don't think it's in the top half of these.
It
In
rides
the
the
top,
it rides the cusp for me because I think uh, I've worked with a couple prequel fans that will fight for it tooth and nail, and I bring them back down to earth. I don't just sit there and be like, oh no, just because you love it, it's good. I've now shared the Phantom Menace rewrite script that we did last year with them. So and even their family has started to read it and comment on it, which is I think hilarious. And they're like, no, it's so good. And I'm just like, it's flawed, but there's something really good about it. And to me, the fight sequence and the fight choreography is all tremendous, which is why I put it up in the next category. Because they're the two that couldn't go up to damn good were Speed and Avengers Endgame. Because Speed, again, there's a crescendo in that movie. It doesn't come in that scene, and this is late enough in the movie where you kind of want another crescendo. But I think the best because the tension is there. That's why this one got the nod. And Avengers Endgame, again, how good is the scene by itself? Because the 10 years of build up to make that scene matter, make that scene incredible. Without that 10 years, you're like, oh, that's fun. It's good.
sure, and it's also connected to a scene that pretty much directly after that is 30 minutes long. So
Very much so, and is the culmination of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
yeah,
Yes. So that's what takes super fun. Damn good. I went Titanic, splitting of the Titanic, Atomic Blonde stairwell fight, Troy, Hector versus Achilles, Phantom Menace, Duel of Fates, Terminator 2's truck chase, Anchorman, the news team fight. Kingsman was here because I do think there's a lot of great action into Kingsman and the Fugitives train wreck. Anything here that you've really got a beef with?
no. What number are you at? Do you have a numbered at all?
The Fugitive is 32, so that's the top of
Okay.
that one, and Titanic was 39.
Hmm.
The thing for
Uh,
me, the thing
That's
for
pretty
me
fair.
is, yeah, I just think Phantom Menace and Kingsman were the two I thought you'd probably have the most beef with, and Phantom Menace, I just think the fight choreography and the way it tells a difference, it does do something very different for a franchise that needs it and gives it this whole pulse of energy that allowed that Duel of the Fates can never be. You can't take the credit away from how bad that movie is, and people still left satisfied, at least for a while, because
Yeah.
Duel of the Fates was so good. So that's why I'm like, no, the fight choreography, everything's there, the character work, the camera angles on the facials, all that works really, really well. It's just the rest of the movie's trash. So,
Yeah. Um, I do think that's pretty fair, actually.
and then Kingsman, I just think the unique setting, the fact that you're constantly cutting and getting characters reacting to things, so you're getting these great character moments. Those are the things I think that brings Kingsman's up, not just from a one shot nature. And the other thing I think that's important here is Terminator 2, I ranked as 35th, and it gets into the Sweet 16 simply because of seating.
Yeah.
So it shows how many movies I think are better, or how many scenes I think are better than Terminator 2 in their truck chase, but seating took them out of the equation.
Hmm.
Now I got great at something is my next category. So 31 is Gladiator, the Tigers fight, and then I have Gravity, the all the space debris hitting the space shuttle. Days of Future Past, Quicksilver kitchen scene, Kill Bill's Crazy 88 fight, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's Manson Family Massacre, Inception's hotel fight, Django Unchained's Candyland shootout, Point Break's Fuck It jump, the Nightcrawler open from X2, and then the original club scene from John Wick. Those are all where I have great at something.
Hmm.
They all have that one really unique thing that makes them very different and then capitalizes
Yeah.
on that great thing.
Could you run through that real quick again?
Yeah. Gladiator, Gravity, Days of Future Past, Kill Bill, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Inception, Django Unchained,
Oh, I was gonna say I think Inception to me would be a little bit lower,
That's fair.
but that's just personal taste again.
I think what I like about it is the editing. The editing gives it this kinetic energy that
Sure.
I remember you saying this in the show when we were doing the tournament, and I fully agree. It's just a fight. That's all it
Yeah.
is.
Well,
But
that's
what
the thing
makes
is,
it special is the editing, the gravity bending, and that's something we've never seen before. And to me, I'm like, that
yeah,
really brings it up.
because in the first round it went up against Phantom Menace,
Yeah,
and I had that split 5-5.
right.
So like,
I was the deciding vote on that one.
because Phantom Menace to me is all about Duel of the Fates, 100% about music, and then Inception is a lot more creative and original.
Yeah,
So it's like they're about equal to me in terms of where they would stand in this stack range, but
fair. The thing is, I don't think there's, to me, until you get to my top four categories, maybe five, everything in the middle from 22 to 40 is pretty
sure.
mesh point.
That's how it kind of always goes when you're doing like any kind of ranking. Like the
Yeah,
middle's always kind of fluid.
the very fluid, and it's just based on opinion. So then I have just great entries here. 21, Temple of Dune's Minecart Chase. 20, again, an early casualty because it hit Casino Royale is the Batman. I think the Batmobile Chase, if it goes up against anything except Casino Royale in the first round, probably wins a lot of
Yeah.
these victories.
Yeah, there's very few that would have beat it in the first round.
Princess Bride, I think that duel is tremendous, and we were
Yep.
both wowed by the mapping of that scene. Uh, Mission Impossible 6 Fallout, the helicopter chase, Destruction of Ginza from Godzilla Minus One. And then I know you don't like this as much, but I think this is the pinnacle of that franchise. It's the Catacomb Escape from John Wick 2. So you actually get to see the setup, you get to see the smarts of the character.
Hmm.
That's, to me, what takes it from here to here, where even the John Wick original one, that's phenomenal before the style was just stolen, still has room to grow, and I think John Wick 2 does grow that. So those would be my great entries.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Batman taking out round one, Princess Bride taking out round one. Like these are just two great entries that got the shit luck of the draw.
Yeah. It's funny because when we started this tournament, I was reading Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And then now that we're done, I'm reading The Princess Bride. So it's like I wonder if we started this at a different time, would my ranking have been different?
It would have been fun.
Just based on a little bit of bias.
Well, the other thing is to check our bias. The Batman wasn't even. I didn't even put it in the tournament until we were at the
Yeah,
end,
that's true.
and I was just like, and you were the one. You're like, you sure you don't want that? It's really good. Like it's, and I was like, yeah, there's an obvious play-in game that doesn't belong there. That it's clearly better, and then you went through and you're like, oh wait, it's clearly better than these seven. It's probably clearly better than all of these. You're like, okay, let's just put it in. And then to have it that high, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I'm glad we made that choice. Now I have our dark horse category, ones that I think, if the seeding was right, could have had a path to win. Because there's just something really special and unique. But they'd have to have the perfect path to win. Trench scene from Wonder Woman. The water tank heist from Rogue Nation. First Jade Fox fight from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Breaking the Deeping Wall from Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings Two Towers. The Ride of the Rohirrim from The Return of the King. And then I also have the tank chase from The Last Crusade. All of those are very special, very unique.
Hmm.
They just need the right path to win. Because they would dominate. Like, it just, Wonder Woman went up against a juggernaut in round two. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like, that's how it goes. Last Crusade had a good run, and then it met the eventual winner in the Sweet 16. It's like, well,
Hmm.
how are you going to do that? Any beef with any of those?
No, I completely agree. So far, like I there's not like any huge discrepancies really to me. I obviously the John Wicks are the biggest ones, but that's just personal taste again.
Yeah. Then I have our bracket bullies. I think these are all ones that have a legitimate shot to win as long as they kind of get the right path. But again, they could win against other stuff. They just didn't meet the right one. First is the Dark Knight. Dark Knight's eliminated in the round of 32. And that has no business being eliminated in the round of 32. So we have the truck chase from the Dark Knight. Almond Hen battle from Fellowship of the Ring. The bike jump chase sequence from Mad Max Fury Road. Parkour chase from Casino Royale. Docking sequence from Interstellar. And then at 4, I would have Omaha Beach Saving Private Ryan. All of those, I think, could legitimately win if the path was just cleared a hair better. Where the dark horses, I think you need to seed them perfectly to win, but they could win.
Yeah.
Those bracket bullies, I think, could really do a lot.
I think that's fair.
It's the shame of looking at something like the Dark Knight, and it just meets Fellowship of the Ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then
and there's a lot of great ones that went out in the first round, so
right,
it is just kind of about luck, honestly.
Well, again, Dark Knight gets Final Destination 2, and you're like, well, I wonder who's going to win that one. And then it gets Fellowship, and then Fellowship also beats... Fellowship on its way, it beats Princess Bride, John Wick, which also took out John Wick 3, Heat, and King Kong. And it loses to the next ranking up, because then I have my next 2 are grade A, which is Ghost Protocol's Burj Khalifa Climb, and Jurassic Park's T-Rex Escape, which Jurassic Park, if it doesn't meet the champion in the next one, which is Raiders of the Lost Ark's Truck Chase, Jurassic Park wins the whole entire thing. That was the dark horse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an issue with these stack rankings, the way I did them. Clearly, I don't think you do much, except for those little discrepancies we talked about. It's just, think of how crazy it is. Like, Mad Max I have as number 7, and Mad Max makes it to the 8. Then you have something like the Dark Knight, and it only gets into the round of 32, simply because of Fellowship of the Ring. Or Crouching Tiger, also round of 32 because it met Jurassic Park. Crouching Tiger is clearly better than a round 32, but what are you going to do there? So, any other comments, questions, concerns on those bad boys?
No, I think that was good.
Yeah. It's fun stack rank. It's fun to just take care of business that way. But eager to see how it went. That is our stack ranks, and that closes our tournament. And please, in the comments section, start sending us your ideas for next year's tournament. This tournament was really fun. We enjoyed it quite a bit. I will say, don't put any comedic comments of making us suffer, because Dylan won't do it. I would. Dylan won't. So
I'm not gonna watch 64 shitty movies. I'll put it that way. Like, the idea was floated, but I just can't put myself through it.
Yeah, I get it. We'd have to do a mini tournament. We'd have to do like 8. I think I could get you to do 8.
I could do 8. I could do that, but not any more than that. I'm not doing it.
But that is the post-mortem on the 2025 movie tournament, which was greatest action scene of all time. We're going to move into a little bit of news, and then we're going to do our movie studio draft. Just some thoughts here. Have you heard either of these 2 news items? We have new producers for the James Bond series.
Okay, I take that back. I have heard that one.
Because James Bond, for those who don't know, has been purchased outright by Amazon. So now the evil empire completely owns and has creative control over one of the greatest movie franchises of all time.
So in this news, did the Broccoli family give a reason why they gave up their rights?
Yeah, billions of dollars.
So they did, but they didn't like straight up say like, oh, we just, we feel like retiring. We are just giving up rights. No,
everything that's come out about it is very negative, to where it just says the direct quote that's been floated has been, get that bitch out of here. Because they had the distribution rights, Amazon did, to Bond for the last 2 years, I want to say, which is why No Time to Die just was streaming forever on Prime with no problems. Because MGM was also bought out by Prime and Amazon. But Barbara Broccoli, in an odd twist of fate, she's someone where if you would have asked me this question 10 to 15 years ago, I would have said she's a net negative for that franchise, not a positive. And then she took big chances. She became far more of the voice for Bond,
Yeah.
and she took big chances with the Daniel Craig
Yeah, I was gonna say she's a positive
entry.
shepherd for that franchise.
And the thing is, when she responded when there was problems, she responded. It
Yeah,
wasn't
and
just
I'm fairly certain in the past that she said that they weren't gonna give up the rights.
no, they never were. And I mean, it's been memed, so I don't know how accurate it is. But Cubby Broccoli, who originally held the rights, which is why the Broccoli family has them,
Yeah.
allegedly some of his dying words were "never give up James Bond," which
Well, yeah, because it's stupid to do that.
and $1 billion speaks, and also her partner, who is her stepbrother, Michael G. Wilson, who now if his mother married Cubby, so but he was very young, so Barbara and Michael grew up together. They split control of that, and they worked very, very well as part of Eon Productions. He retired, so it's kind of Barbara on her own
Okay.
for the last couple times. But they made the deal with the devil, and eventually the devil made
Are there
do.
no children that they wanted to pass it on to or something?
Maybe. I think there are. I think the kids just didn't have an interest, or they didn't want the.
That just doesn't make sense to me as a family decision.
So the thing is, here is I look at it a lot like the Denver Broncos. They were just bought out by the Walton Penner family, who owns and runs Walmart. They bought the team 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And the whole thing that was going on was Pat Bowlen, who originally owned the team, he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame for being such a good owner and ambassador for the sport. And all of his children were just squabbling because they couldn't figure out who could actually run the team as the CEO. And eventually they just came to the conclusion, none of us are fit to do this and unite the family, so we're going to sell. I would probably equate this to that, where none of the kids maybe really wanted to do it.
See, that's where you just keep the rights, but then have someone who's capable run it.
You find your Kevin Feige, you find your Dave Filoni,
Yeah.
you find your guy that's going to be there. And so Amazon, that's what they're trying to do, to flip it into new stuff.
Yeah, now that Amazon owns it, I have very little hope.
Well, immediately there already has been reports that Amazon has pitched a Moneypenny series, a female counterpart to James Bond who's a CIA agent, and a Felix Leiter. And it's immediately just like, okay, we're just going to milk this for content. And say what you will, because James Bond has ebbed and flowed in quality a lot over time. I love both.
100%.
I love both the good and the bad here, so I'm not here to throw stones. On a previous entry, I said I fucking love View to a Kill. It's one of my guilty pleasures, but I know it's trash. So, it's not as if we're saying this is the shepherd of. It's not as if someone is coming right after the Lord of the Rings trilogy and saying, we bought it, it's ours now. But this was one of the few franchises left that hadn't been milked to death. It would have 5-year periods where no movie was made. And you were like, so you weren't inherently inundated with another Bond movie, another this, another that. And we're going to talk about fatigue in our next news item with the MCU. But now it looks like we're just going to get turned into the Amazon Prime content farm, and it's going to probably kill my interest in the franchise, and I love James Bond.
You said the exact word, which is content, that's all I think of when I think of Amazon. Like, they've shown they're not capable of shepherding a franchise already.
Oh, yeah.
With what they're doing with the whole, I guess you would just call it Middle Earth franchise.
Yep, they're very much behind. They want stuff out, and
they'll throw money at something, but just because you're throwing money at something doesn't mean it's gonna be.
They throw money at things, but they do it in a way. What's funny is they learned half the lesson that they should have, which was when a new corporation takes over an entertainment company, which basically all entertainment companies that we know are owned by a corporation that isn't inherently an entertainment company, right? It's like in the 70s and the 80s when movie studios were getting bought by PepsiCo and shit like that. And you're like,
Yeah.
What? Which is ironic because then some of the best stuff that's been made was under their supervision because they just trusted
Yeah.
someone the right way. But it
Pretty
didn't
sure
always work out the way.
Columbia. Pretty sure Columbia was owned by Coke.
Yeah. It's just like they started doing these things. Amazon learned you can't penny pinch. They learned that. So they didn't repeat those mistakes, but then they didn't learn the you need a strong creative voice and you need to facilitate the money and get the fuck away. You can't do this. And you also, the other thing is they make the fatal flaw of not sticking with the source material very well. Rings of Power is a perfect example of that, where
Yeah.
they want to get Gandalf in, they want to get this in, they want to get that in, and it's just like spoilers to anyone who hasn't seen Ring of Power season 2, but it's just very much just a where the fuck did that come from? Why is that here? Why is Galadriel a petulant child when she's the wisest and fairest like being to
I
ever exist in this franchise? What is with half this shit?
yeah. I've just become so skeptical about pretty much any streaming service now owning like whole franchises because there's so few examples of people doing it well.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, this is even the ones that are done well. They're done well periodically. They're done for a period of time. So, for instance,
Yeah.
Netflix did really good with Daredevil. And then they did season 1 was incredible. Season 2, I think, is also so good. Season 3, not as good. It's fine, but it's not nearly as good as the first two. And that was when Netflix was starting to turn more into we just got to keep churning out content. Plus, you had Marvel trying to say we want this back. You know,
Yeah,
we want
I
that.
always think of Paramount with what they do with Star Trek, where they have so many different shows of Star Trek, and from what I hear, I don't watch any of them. I've given some of them a try.
Yeah.
The ones I've seen are not good, and from what I've heard, they're not like great shows,
I know
and they don't really satisfy the hardcore fans either.
people
So
liked part of Picard. That's what I know. Like I have people
parts,
I had people in my life that are big Trekkies that they were like, "Oh, I really liked this portion of Picard," but
but
then
they
it kind
also
of
don't understand the fundamental thing about that franchise,
right.
where they turn it into Star Wars instead of Star Trek.
And the whole point is
And
it's counter programming at this point.
yeah, and I could see Amazon doing something like that, where it's just like they just don't understand what they're gonna do with James Bond. I guess it will all come down to when they actually announce who's going to be the next James Bond, I
Right.
guess.
Well, here's the biggest thing. We haven't even mentioned it. You've heard the new producers, correct?
Uh,
It's
I
it's Amy Pascal who ran
oh yeah,
Sony Spider-Man, and then David Heyman who ran Harry Potter.
yes. I was gonna say I remember hearing a name that
And I
sounded familiar.
I
Yeah.
hate both of those choices. I hate both of those choices.
See,
Plus, they're both going to produce. They're both going to work under their own studio labels, which I also cannot stand that idea.
huh?
The thing is, it's like Amy Pascal. The best thing Amy Pascal has ever done, which has raised her stock, is when it was flat on its ass and she kind of shepherded how bad Spider-Man was becoming. She was smart enough to sell or to work a deal with Marvel so that Marvel came in and solved it. Notice,
Sure.
Andrew Garfield Spider-Man really sucks. Magically, Marvel comes in 2 years later. Magically, everything's saved and we have a good Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Whether
See,
they're the greatest films in the world, I don't think
yeah.
they are, but they're still much better than what they used to be. They're fun. They're coherent. People care about Spider-Man again. Like,
Yeah, you tell me David Heyman's gonna produce James Bond in 2012, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's a good choice. I think he can actually do a pretty good job. But nowadays, not so sure
same
anymore.
deal. Yeah, David Heyman. Okay, cool. Harry Potter and whatever. Like, I remember in 2011, what was her name? It's gonna drive me crazy, and I feel bad because she did a good job. But there was an executive who helped run Harry Potter for Warner Brothers that jumped over to DC. It was part of their comic line, and then part of the launch to get to the extended universe. And at the time, it's like it was Diane something, I want to say, and it was she worked with all the Harry Potter stuff. She's a perfect choice for this. She knows how to make worlds and help with all these kinds of things. And it just clearly doesn't work out. At the time, it's a perfect choice, though, because 2011 is the height of Harry Potter. It's, oh my god, this franchise is coming to an end and everyone's doing so well. And then you have, later on, you're like, well, that clearly wasn't the right choice. Because the new 52 of DC, which really informs a lot of the DCEU, is hot garbage. So
I'm just going to look up real quick what David Heyman's been doing lately, because the only thing I know he's done post like Wizarding World is the Paddington movies.
yes, which get rave reviews. That people like Paddington, I'll give him that.
Okay, so he helped produce Wonka. Apparently he helped produce Barbie. Didn't know that.
I didn't know. I heard about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Marriage Story, which is also good. Yeah, other than that, there's like a couple other titles, but nothing that stands out. So
I will say this: at least his individual track record right now is much better. Where Amy Pascal, what's raised her is other people. Amy Pascal by herself has not been a good choice in my opinion. But when she started teaming with other people and giving other people far more control who knew what they were doing, then all of a sudden it was like, oh, executive producer Amy Pascal, and you're like, and here's the thing, no one fully knows the story. Maybe she was the one the whole time that was trying to get people to say, let's get creatives on board. You know, she is part of the...
That's true. You never really know.
She's part of the Spider-Verse team that's helped shepherd, into and across the Spider-Verse, and that clearly has done really, really well, to the point where there are whole waves of people that know that there's a different Spider-Man and prefer that Spider-Man over Peter Parker. So there's credit in that somewhere. So maybe she is the guiding light that was just trying to save everything the whole time and knew what needed to be done. But from outward appearances, it very much looks like when you were running it far more by yourself, things sucked. And then when you gave up control, that's when things got good.
Yeah.
So
well,
it's tough.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess. I mean, it probably won't take them long to start churning them out.
And then, I know you don't know all of this, but we'll move into the MCU since we're talking Spider-Man here.
Oh, I know none of it. All I heard was X-Men.
So, as of release, this is almost 2 weeks ago, but it's still kind of in the news as well, that there was a 5.5-hour live stream, or like 8-hour live stream, where it just showed a camera moving and revealing chairs with names on them, revealing the cast of Avengers Doomsday. And it's capped off by 2 original Avengers, which Robert Downey Jr. isn't playing Iron Man, he's playing Dr. Doom, but nonetheless, it's capped by Robert Downey Jr. actually being there. And a bunch of just names. A lot of the new people that you're like, yeah, or, okay.
Are they the people who have played them in the past?
Yes, but it's very much...
Okay.
It very much feels like it's the double-edged sword, or it's the devil's advocate. The way they made it work was they went, okay, let's play safe, let's play the hits. So they sprinkled in some early stuff that you're like, oh yeah, I like him, I like her. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of just went, the new stuff not everyone's worried about, and then went, hey, but remember, the X-Men are here now, and you're like, what? And then you're like, oh, hey, by the way, remember, we are putting the Fantastic Four in this movie. Pedro Pascal's here. Everyone loves Pedro. We love Pedro, right? Pedro. And then it was Robert Downey Jr. But you have, like, the entire cast of Thunderbolts just, like, in the middle. And apparently that's, from what people are saying, could be very good. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. Right now, they're riding a very bad wave off of Captain America: Brave New World. That movie is garbage. It was so bad I didn't even put a review up on the show. That was how bad it was. Because I wouldn't even say I was heartbroken. I was just like, this is how bad this is. That
What's this next Avengers called?
Avengers Doomsday, and it leads into Avengers Secret War.
I'll just look up real quick.
So, quick premise: the reason this all is working is 2015. They redo or do a second version of the Marvel classic Secret Wars. Doctor Doom, who will be played by Robert Downey Jr. Not saying this is exactly what's going to happen in the movie. Essentially, melds all of the multiverses together into one coherent timeline, one coherent universe. And he becomes God King Doom. And he's just taking out universe after universe after universe. It involves Molecule Man, which that's some real deep Marvel stuff. But it effectively eliminates a lot of the Ultimate Universe that was really good at first for Marvel and then kind of dragged Marvel down for a while. So in this, we're clearly going to see the end of the X-Men, where we're going to bring Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen and Kelsey Grammer and Rebecca Romijn and James Marsden, and Alan Cumming even is coming back as Nightcrawler, which to me, that's fucking cool. But it's clearly, we're going to collide all these universes into one thing, and then Secret Wars, the original comic, which is I think what they're going to take for Secret Wars, and the best it's ever been shown on screen. They did a version of Secret Wars in the 94 Spider-Man animated show, which actually I highly recommend, the 3-part episode that they did, which is Battle World is created where all these characters are plucked and they're just thrown together and they have to fight for essentially the spirit of the Marvel Universe. And that's the first appearance of the black-suited Spider-Man. It's kind of, it calls a little bit of Marvel history, so they can kind of slowly weed some stuff out, give you some new stuff to be excited about. So you have all those things. This is clearly, we're going to go with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four.
Okay.
In the future. But we have we have to get rid of the old X-Men, because now we've introduced the concept that the old X-Men could still be around. As in the post-credit scene for the Marvels, where you see Kelsey Grammer's Beast, and you're like, it doesn't look exactly like Kelsey Grammer's Beast, but they got Kelsey Grammer to come back to do it. So, spoilers, but the movie's 2 years old at this point. Photon, who's Monica Rambeau, like goes through a wormhole in space, essentially, gets stuck going through a wormhole, and ends up in a different universe. And then she wakes up in a hospital bed. Her mom, who doesn't know she's her mom because it's a different fucking universe, is Captain Marvel. And then the Doctor's fucking Beast. And you're like, what? Okay. Fucking Beast. Rad. And then obviously Deadpool and Wolverine. Spoilers for that movie. Hugh Jackman is fucking shown, and they show Logan, and they show all kinds of stuff in that movie. And all kinds of old X-Men and Avengers and other members of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh, and Channing Tatum is also coming back to play Gambit. I don't know what version of Gambit.
Huh. So the only thing I don't like about this is, like, they're all the old actors.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, I'm excited to see some of them back, but a lot of them I'm like, I just don't care.
Well, I think what's also interesting is,
I'd rather them just recast most of them.
I think the problem is they opened the door. You opened the door to the possibility of all this existing. Or even Multiverse of Madness, when they brought in Professor X and they made it Patrick Stewart, and they made him comic accurate. They made him straight out of X-Men 92 with the gliding yellow chair and the green suit, and even the fucking 2-second little faint stinger of the X-Men music. I lost my shit in the theater. That was the highlight of the movie for me. It was that 2 seconds of X-Men.
That's true. That's actually probably my favorite part of that movie.
It's that
only because I love seeing Xavier in anything, really.
Oh, exactly. But That 2 second of the 92 X-Men theme, I just went, I got goosebumps. I was so excited, right? All of this is clearly, they opened the door, and now they have to close the door, and they have to say, okay, multiverse didn't work. We allowed Deadpool to play in the multiverse and kind of make fun of it. And by kind of, completely make fun of it, and just, take the piss out of everything about it, and say, legitimately saying, it's not working, guys. It hasn't been great. Or, to Logan, you're joining at a bit of a low point. It's like just taking the piss out of the moment, which works for Deadpool, but then you're also like, okay, well, we're acknowledging our flaws. Now you have to kind of get rid of the X-Men. I think the funniest part is, I love Ian McKellen. I worship at the altar of Ian McKellen. I think he's great.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of if you're going to show me a Magneto, I kind of want Fassbender's Magneto. Because
that'd make 10 times more sense to bring him back.
But the thing beyond anything is, Fassbender's Magneto is shown to be ultra powerful Magneto that could be in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Where Ian McKellen's, not that he wasn't powerful, they showed Ian McKellen's Magneto to be very powerful, but not in the same way Fassbender was. Where Fassbender had that very much cold-hearted, nope, you've wronged me, fuck you, I will level entire cities with my power. I do not care.
Once again, Marvel proven I just do not care anymore.
Is there a way to make you care?
If you had told me before this, hey, they're bringing X-Men into the Marvel Universe, I would have been like, awesome. That actually might bring me back into it. Because I love X-Men. That's my favorite Marvel property.
Yes.
And now I'm just like, okay.
Well, I even remember when I first got really deep into comics, then for like 2 or 3 years, I just constantly berated you. I was like, you gotta read some of this stuff. It's really good. And the only things I could ever get you to like were Justice League and X-Men. Because you liked the team-ups. You liked the big...
Yes.
You liked getting a taste of everybody.
Yeah, and X-Men always sounds awesome. And most of them I do like. Most of the movies I actually think are pretty good to great. It's just...
I think they have too much of a spectrum of bad to say that as a sweeping statement, but I understand what you're saying.
I know. I was going to say, there's definitely outliers where they're shit, and shit being, really shit. I'd say I like the first one quite a bit. The second one I think is great.
I would agree with you.
Third one, I actually rewatched not that long ago.
It's
not as shit as I thought, but it's bad.
It's bad. Obviously, X-Men Origin Wolverine is the low point of that entire franchise.
Although, that one's probably the most fun to watch because of how bad it is.
You mean the CGI claws that are just so bad?
They're awful. But
then you have First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix, but then you also have Deadpool and have Logan and Deadpool 2, and you're like, well, fuck, these are...
Yeah, you tell me X-Men's going to be in the Marvel Universe, I'd be like, okay, awesome. I'm actually excited to see who they cast as all these people.
Yeah.
But then when you say, oh, they're just bringing back the old cast, then I just go, okay. I mean, I've seen good movies with them and bad movies with both casts, so it doesn't matter who you bring back.
Well, what's also ironic is I think they've lost, unless Chris Evans comes back. This is clearly not the only cast that they're going to release, right?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So, because there's too many big players left in the MCU that aren't announced for the project, that it's like, no Doctor Strange? Huh? Okay. No Chris Pratt. Like, you already confirmed Star-Lord was coming back, not necessarily Guardians of the Galaxy, but you said Star-Lord was coming back. It's clear that the last member of that cast has to be either Chris Evans or Hugh Jackman. Maybe Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Those are your only 3 choices to finish out that cast.
I'd rather them recast Wolverine.
I think the problem is Hugh Jackman finally got to cook as Wolverine. Like, you've seen Deadpool and Wolverine now, right?
No.
I would.
I was against him playing Wolverine
after
in that
Logan.
movie. Yes.
I understand that. He finally got to play Logan more comic accurate, and it was really fun. But the problem is, again, you open the door, now you have to close the door. So, to me, the most logical thing is, I don't think every piece of old Marvel dies in Doomsday / Secret Wars. If I were going to do it, I would just make Daphne Keane, who's already in the Disney family with Star Wars and X-Men now, run with her for 15 years. Just be like, we're going to go X-23. And
That's true, you could do that.
And then you can get that time period rest where you know Logan exists because Logan has to exist to get to Laura and X-23. They can still get your Wolverine flavor, but you can buy yourself 5 years, 6 years, 7 years time by going, we know Logan's here, we just don't know where he is. And then you let the Hugh Jackman love rest a little bit. It's no different than when they changed Bond. They didn't change Bonds every 2 years. You know, like Timothy Dalton was Bond, and then 6 years later, Pierce Brosnan was Bond.
Yeah.
You know, Pierce was Bond, and then 4 years later, 5 years later, Daniel Craig was Bond. They give it a little bit of a rest.
Yeah. I'm just curious to see when the next time I'll actually go see a Marvel movie in the theaters will be.
Would you go to Fantastic Four? That looks actually pretty decent.
Probably not.
I like the
I'll probably just wait. I like the cast a lot too.
Would you go if we went to like a drive-in or made a night out of it?
I would do that. But like, I'm not going to go out of my way to go see it.
Sure. We'll make it a family fair this summer. We'll get
fine if we do that. Sure.
Yeah, I know you'll do it. So, and then at least we have something to talk about in a fucking podcast. Because the thing is, you were somewhat intrigued by Superman as well. So maybe we'll do a.
No, I actually am excited to see Superman.
And
but
all the reviews, all the stuff of early footage that's been shown has been really positive, reportedly. So.
The only reason I'm excited for that is because it's James Gunn. So.
And DC finally went, let's just let some stuff die for a year or two. No movies. Just let it be. Now let's do something new. They opened up a can of worms with the Doomsday stuff. Because then also you have a bunch of Jonathan Majors people who think it's a double standard that Tino Huerta was also announced, who also is facing rape allegations right now. So you're like, oh, Jonathan Majors, you're gonna cut bait from him quick, but you're gonna announce Tino Huerta? You better be pretty fucking confident that.
Oh, I thought they had moved on. Like, I thought they had kept him on
Jonathan Majors?
Marvel. Yeah.
No.
So they're just done with him completely?
They're done with him completely.
Okay.
Because the thing is he was supposed to be part of a lot more, which is why we're getting. This is the sad part. This is the part that freaks me out. Doctor Doom is like the Marvel villain, right? And he's the only one that compares to a DC villain in my mind. Like there's no real Marvel villain that compares to the vast majority of DC villains. Doctor Doom's the one where you're like, yeah, he's pretty fucking cool. Can't argue that one. And we're getting that because this was all supposed to be built for Kang. And now Kang's gone because of Jonathan Majors' real life issues.
I was going to say, I heard that he was supposed to be the next big one.
They announced him as the next big one, and they were putting him in everything. It was Loki Season 1, and then it was Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and then Loki Season 2. And it was as they were finishing production or film principal photography or whatever on Loki, that's when all the shit hit the fan with Jonathan Majors. Because they were also like, it was right as like Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania was coming out, and it was just, do you want all of these new projects? Every time a new project comes out, do you want to have to come out with the, hey, you do know this guy just choked out and beat his girlfriend, right? And you're like,
yeah. I mean,
fuck.
I don't blame him, but yeah,
it's just a shame because your one silver bullet that you had in the chamber forever, you shot because of controversy. You didn't even shoot because you had a big plan for them.
This is what I would do if I was Marvel. I'd open the multiverse up, but then I'd open it up to Disney properties that have nothing to do with Marvel. So I'd bring in like a Daryl Hannah from Splash, or like just random ass characters that have nothing to do with superheroes. That'd be fun.
No, I think you go.
Or like Turner and Hooch. Just bring Tom Hanks in.
No, I think
with a big ass dog.
I think you stay in Marvel, but you just only exclusively play with like Z-list characters where no one knows they're even Marvel. Like,
Or you open it up to a complete unknown universe, and it's Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan, and he just walks in and plays the guitar. Something stupid like that. That'd be more fun.
that's an interesting choice. I love this idea. I
It's
want
got
you,
time travel. We got time travel already in the universe.
I want you to write this. Not the whole thing, but you know how we were talking about like Batman v Superman when we recorded that episode, which has never been released because I just couldn't get it done in time. It's one of those. Maybe eventually if we have a Patreon, that'll go up there, kind of thing. Like, I love the idea of an episode where you map out the Marvel universe with no Marvel characters. What's the big event that? Who are the new Avengers?
You get Nick Fury to get the new Avengers. Yeah, that'd be more fun.
It's like Fox Robin Hood from like the 1973 cartoon.
Yeah, or the Men in Tights version.
Oh, ooh, that's quality.
Yeah.
Or I kind of like you go with Kevin Costner and just it's constantly like, aren't you supposed to be English? And it's just like, just constantly using the Men in Tights line against him. We're like, shut up. Shut the fuck up.
You get the Kevin Costner Robin Hood. You get Tom Cruise as Lestat from Interview with the Vampire. You get Tom Hanks from Turner and Hooch. Who else can we get? We get Air Bud. Get him in there. Milo and Otis. Throw them in there.
You gotta get all three pets from. You gotta get Shadow, Lucky, and Sassy from Homeward Bound.
Oh, I was gonna say, what is that?
Or Chance. I'm sorry, not Lucky. Chance. Yeah,
you
Shadow,
get the three
Chance,
brothers. You
Sassy.
get the three brothers from Wild America.
You get the three brothers from Three Ninjas.
Yeah, that's a good team.
And then just because there always has to be a little controversy in the Marvel universe, you get the highly problematic and now booed by wrestling fans Hulk Hogan, but you get the 1997 Three Ninjas with hair Hulk Hogan, where he has like a buzz cut up at the top and he's a ninja warrior and nothing makes sense. That's what we need. That's what we need for the Marvel universe.
And then because they love bringing back actors from the dead, we'll get Andre the Giant from Princess Bride.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
We'll build to another Hogan and Andre feud. Hell yeah, I love this.
And then we'll mix format and we'll put Samurai Jack in there. Just an animated character for no reason. It's just got to be more fun with it.
I like how you're just creating a fan fiction universe at this point.
At this point.
Oh, this is good fun. This is good fun.
Well, I'd rather see that than whatever they're gonna churn out.
All right, let's go into. We'll move away from the news and our draft. We've already been going for like an hour or so. Question here: do we want to make the movie studio draft its own episode, or do we want to just cap this one and do like a 2-hour episode?
Let's just do a separate episode.
All right. So, very shortly, I will make sure that it is released same day or the next day, very quickly. You won't have to wait a week for it. We're going to do our movie studio draft in our next episode of the Wisco Movie. But this has been fun. I think we've already fulfilled everyone with your great fan fiction universe you've created for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. How about this? Everyone, if you have any ideas, you got to create a team of 10 people. But they have to be all different characters from different universes.
No, and don't think about rights issues. Don't think about studio. No. Nothing. I like this. I like this idea. This is good stuff.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Any parameters besides that, or just, nope, that's it?
It can be anyone. Stuart Little, Neville Longbottom, anyone.
Well, this has been fun. So again, we'll put the studio draft in the next episode, but we'll do it.
Ooh, I got another one.
Oh, good.
We'll DH Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. That'd be good.
What if you played in the multiverse and you play in the multiverse fan theory that Jigsaw is actually just Kevin McAllister?
Oh, there you go.
Because I have seen that fan theory and I kind of like that fan theory.
maybe he's the big bad in it, but then Macaulay Culkin de-aged is one of the good guys too. Yeah.
And then just to get another Oscar winner in there, you de-age Kieran Culkin as Fuller, and you make a full trilogy of Fuller movies
Yep.
for that. All right, hell yeah, let's do this.
Yep.
It's gonna be fun. But stay tuned for more with the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast and the Movie Studio Draft. Let us know what you thought about the tournament and your ideas for the new tournament, and give us your 10-person team, apparently, of the new Marvel Cinematic Universe that has nothing to do with Marvel's, Avengers, X-Men, anybody. They're all gone. It's just your thoughts. But this has been fun. Check us out and look out for more Wisco Movie Watchers podcast, more ONETA Show, and the return of the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion project coming soon to a YouTube channel near you. Peace, love, and hugs to you all.
Peace.
Goodbye!